Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. And today is December 20th, 2024, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, markets really absorbing after this massive sell-off the previous day. But first, looking at today's major economic events, 3:30 South African time. Out of Canada, we have a retail sales number coming out, and from the United States, a PCE price index number coming out. Now, looking at the market, starting out with the Forex symbols, US dollar still showing strength across the board versus the major pairs. And as we shift over to the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, unchanged after that massive sell-off, not even a little bit of a bounce. Now, looking at commodities, gold and oil retrace as the stock market and most of the stocks are just tapering lower. Now, lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin sells off and retraces below 100K. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. First with the Euro USD, which we haven't done in a while, but I'm going to start out with a weekly chart. And it's a leading indicator. Sometimes it plays catch up to the GBP, sometimes it doesn't. But this is systemic, which means it's across the board. The US dollar is getting stronger across the board, and you can see that as this goes back to its 103 level. Now, looking at a weekly chart, if we break this 103 level, we could go back to parity, which means 1-to-1 versus the euro. GBP USD also on its supportish level, as you can see, 125, also a very important level. Canadian dollar continues to just solidify itself around this 144-ish area. We're just shy of it right now. That did topple itself over. Now, considering it's coming out with its retail sales number later today, that's going to be something to look into. Now, lastly, looking at the Japanese yen, also got very weak here as that pushed to that 157-ish level as well and pushed back that 156 resistance-ish level. The question is whether or not it's going to sustain it. It could be just it's going to dip below it, but this is something to keep an eye out. And of course, the Australian dollar also showing some tremendous weakness. Again, you're going to have to keep an eye on it, because if it does break out, especially on this area at this 62.40-ish level, it could go back to 56, which will have taken us back to the pandemic, or right before the pandemic, really. So this is a very historic moment for the US dollar as it's getting stronger against everything across the board. Now, shifting over to commodities, gold showing a little bit of a bounce here, but it did retrace back to its lows here to 25.80-ish level, and crude oil also retracing back here to its lower level at 69, below $70. Not a big deal. Now, looking at the US markets, okay, this is yesterday's massive sell-off. You could see that we did get a little bit of a bounce, but nothing really to write home about. And if we look at the NASDAQ also, it got a bounce but couldn't sustain it. And that is super important, because when you get this massive kind of sell-off, I expect either a correction right back up, or what we're getting right now, which means that we may still see some further selling. It might come sooner than we expected. Okay, so looking at Microsoft, everything just sold off, okay? I mean, the big ones that got hit the worst are the banks. JP Morgan and Bank of America got hit really bad here over the past couple of days. Now, the other stocks, yes, they did sell off, okay? I mean, if we look across the board, every single chart I'm going to show you is going to be a sell-off. The question is which one is going to make that turn and not going to sell off, or not going to be as big of a sell-off? So this is something to consider as this is happening all in one time. Cisco, I'm not going to do every single chart, but I think it's very important for you to be selective, because over the next couple of days, we're going into Xmas next week, and we're going into the net holidays between Christmas and New Year's. And that's, that's a quiet season of the market, and sometimes we do rally during that time. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin dipping below 100K, that's really super important, because that was showing some strength above it, and it did not push itself lower necessarily. It just got drawn into it, okay, with the rest of the market. So keep this in mind. Let's see if it does use that 100K as a resistance, as that has broken on the downside. So for today, I just want to keep an eye on the VIX, okay? This is probably your most important indicator to see if this is going to sustain itself, or we're going to retrace. And if we do retrace, that means the market might, still shift higher as we go into the weekend, and it's going to be a short week next week. So just don't take it too aggressively going into the holiday. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.